Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm joined here today by Melissa Muir and Tracy Beckenhauser. They are going to be teaching us about adding more interest-based learning to our homeschools. I'm also going to have a presentation from Tina with Big Easy Homeschooling Mom, and I'm going to go ahead and go through her slides. And I also have a video from Ingrid Motes from Tampa Bay Test Prep. So we have a lot of content to get through today. Thank you guys for joining us. Go ahead and share in the comments where you're joining us from and any questions that you have, and we will answer those at the end. So Melissa, I would love for you to tell me a little bit about Melissa's teaching before we jump into your presentation. You're muted.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Hey, I am Melissa. I'm a homeschooling, working from home mom of 4. My husband and I create language learning, writing, and STEAM resources for kids who are mostly learning, Spanish and French. And we love sharing all these things. We currently live in Quito, Ecuador.
Super cool. Hi, Gertie. Thanks for joining us from Las Vegas. All right. Let's get into the presentation.
All right. Yeah, so we are getting started, and I want to encourage, I'm kind of glad I'm going first because I know the rest of you guys are going to share amazing things as well, but I want to kind of open up your eyes. Discovery. A lot has to do with discovery and what kids enjoy anyway, right? So what is discovery in this case? We want to give them options, right? We want to give them lots of different spaces to have trial and error. The more tangible that we can make this, the better. Maybe this is in the kitchen. Maybe this is outside. Maybe this is that pile of cardboard boxes that you don't know what to do with, and you're just offering them up to your kids. This is what we're talking about. Digital is also great. I'm about to share 2 of my favorite digital things, just since we're online anyway right now. I know you guys can figure out the tangible ones, but something important to keep in mind here with discovery is that there's no teaching involved. This is discovery. They're literally playing with it, testing things out. Think of them as toddlers again. Maybe your kids are a little bit older, maybe they are younger, but this is really learning and discovering just by doing on their own. No corrections, right? There's no right or wrong here, and no evaluations. We're not grading on how well they're discovering. That's something important to keep in mind. All right, so I want to share a couple of these ideas, right? We could get out into nature. Something that I shared before in a Homeschool Quest article was about nature bracelets, literally a piece of masking tape around the kid's wrist with sticky side out, go on a nature walk, see what they pick up. When you get home, you're going to be amazed at what is on their wrist. And it's like the most low budget discovery piece ever. So super fun. Also, people, look around. Who's around? Grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, friends who have cool jobs, right? Have them interview these people. Figure out what they're interested in. One example of this is one of my kids is really excited about medical things. And so we've talked to a few different people. I have a researcher biologist friend. I have a midwife aunt. I have another friend who is in physical therapy. And so there are all these different parts of the medical world that you kind of get into. Maybe your kids like that too. In terms of cross-curricular things, this is what I want to get into with my 2 techie ideas for you. The first one is Google Earth. Now, hopefully you've heard of Google Earth, but Google Earth is free. Just Google Earth, open it up, and there are so many different things you can discover with this. We do this with our language arts classes. A lot of times we'll read about, Switzerland or Austria or Germany, and that's where my first grader is at right now. And so we'll be learning about these things, and then we'll head over to Google Earth, and then we'll kind of make the leap and try to make some connections. So Amelia, if you don't mind helping me out, we're going to head over to another input, if you don't mind. And I'm going to take us over to Google Earth real quick and just show you what this looks like. This is super simple. So if you are seeing, Amelia, if you don't mind switching that over, there you go. Perfect. Google Earth, here we are. We're in Switzerland. We're learning about Switzerland. Hopefully. No, we're not. We're still in DC. All right. So if we're in Switzerland, are we going to move? Maybe not. Maybe we'll just type in, maybe we're learning about the election. All right. Let's see if that works better. And this is discovery, remember. So there's no right or wrong answer, but one of the best things, this little yellow figure, this is Street View. Drag this anywhere and then take a look around. Okay, what can we see? What do you observe from this point? Oh, wow, what's that thing? That's what we might be able to see the Mint from here, the Smithsonian Castle, the White House is just over there, right? So these are some of the things that we can use to discover. All right, let's get back over to those slides, Amelia, if you don't mind. And one of my next favorites is Nearpod. Now, Nearpod is a free online tool. Okay, create an account for free. There are simulations and models. These are the two things that I really love for discovery. The first one is called PhET. That's how you pronounce that, the PH. PhET simulations, a lot of these are great for math and science. I'm going to show you a couple of those. As well as some 3D models. And thank you so much for putting that link in the chat because that is 3 months of Gold. Gold is their like first paid option. So you can use this for free. Again, you can use it for free. But if you wanted more storage space for lessons, you can hop in there with Gold and that code, okay? So if you don't mind allowing me to share my other screen, Amelia, that would be fantastic. And there we go. I think we might be set now. Fantastic. So you can see this. This is a math lab. So take yourself back to high school, right? The lab. We are looking at different measurements, right? We're measuring mass. So we've got these two little supports here on the side. We can take that away and, oh, they're even. But what if we put 15 kilos on this side? There we go. So kids are just playing around with this. Reset right there. All right. So little kids can do this. Big kids, there are much more complex simulations in here. This one is really fun. Obviously, we're looking at the sun and the earth, but you can actually change it to include the moon or Earth and a satellite. And you can show different vectors right here. We can also change the mass. So maybe we want the sun's mass to be really big. And then maybe we'll set it to fast and see how it goes. All right. Whoa, that moon is flying away from us. Interesting. Maybe we'll up the mass here. All right. Oh, we went into the sun. Right? So this is going to be one of those fun things that kids can do for a while, quite a while. But it's really cool. I mean, you're seeing the Earth days and speeding up time, things like that. Two more things I want to show you with this are 3D models. What kind of cell is this, everyone? A plant cell. So we're looking at plant cell again for your older kids, but the cool part is this is 3D. So we can just toggle this around. Hey, help me find the cell wall. Help me find the vacuoles, right? So taking it back to science lab, but take a look in there and really fun. There are so many of these that you can pull out. Again, it's free. Free. It's all right there. And the last one, again, we do this cross-curricular, right? So if we're talking about Rome and we want to look at the Colosseum, right? This doesn't look like our pictures that we have today because this is actually complete, right? And so we're looking at maybe the architecture. So we can zoom in. What shapes do you see here? We see arches, right? We're looking at different, we're looking at the bottom there, but you can kind of zoom in and out and have them describe things to you as well. So super fun way to have kids discover and go way across whatever interest that they have. So let them lead the way as you work on interest-based learning and use that gold code if you'd like. So that's what I have. This is something that we've really enjoyed doing as a family, and I hope that you guys can use it too. Again, I have lots of videos on this on my YouTube channel, but definitely something that I feel like a lot of people don't know about and really should.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Melissa. That was really great information. I am not very familiar with Nearpod, and so now I'm going to check it out because that seems really cool.
Super fun.
Okay, Tracy, let me move over here, and do you want to go ahead and share your slides?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get those pulled up here. Alrighty. Perfect. Okay. Well, first of all, Melissa, that was awesome. I'm like sitting here, I was like, stole the link. So I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I'm going to use this with my son. Like, this is so cool. So love that. So thank you for that. That was very helpful. So I'm Tracy Baconaster. I own Adulting University. We are basically a virtual co-op for high school age students. And we provide all kinds of your essential life skills curriculum that is great for your electives. We do meetups, we have mentorship, all kinds of great things for your teenagers in your life that are homeschooled. So I'm taking a little different approach to our interest-based learning, because as a career coach, I kind of need to, right? It's kind of like just makes sense. So we're talking about it in a career exploration sense, because that is kind of ties in together, right? It's the learning piece, it's the interest-based piece, but it's also the career exploration piece. So really kind of talking about that. So when we talk about interest-based learning, when we are looking at careers specifically, number one, we have to first start to identify what those interests are, right? How can we do interest-based learning if we don't really know what our students' interests are? I'm doing a career exploration course right now with the students in our co-op, and this is one of the foundational things that we did, right? We have to know, what are your passions? What are your interests? What are things that you value? Like, what are those core values for you? Just helping them really understand those pieces, because that's kind of the foundation to everything else, right? When we talk about careers or learning based on interest, we need to know these things first. And exploration is the best way to do this. And I love that topic of exploration. And like Melissa talked about with discovery, because you can start that at any age, right? Even if your student is only a second grader and they're not really thinking about their career yet, they still have things that they're interested in, and they have passions and those kinds of things. So being able to really nurture that. Once we kind of start to look at that, then we can start to look at, okay, what are possible careers that align with these kinds of interests and passions and values that your student has? And that's when you can start to build in a lot of that interest-based learning pieces by helping them, learning how to do research in things they're actually interested in, right? If they're interested in computer science or they love gaming, having them do research on what kind of careers exist in this field. That could be part of their, English writing assignments, of doing a research project on the careers they're interested in that align with their values. It could be doing interviews with guest speakers, right? And as you notice, a lot of these things too also bring in a lot of those life skills aspects. Like, oh gosh, I got to talk to a stranger and I got to interview them. I got to have these communication skills, but it's helping them. It's doing something that is benefiting their future, but it's also something that can be done that aligns very well with their interests. Job shadowing is another great way to do this, right? If they have a career path or somewhere they're really interested in, seeing if they can do a job shadow with a company or with a person that works in that field. That's always a great way for students to get to kind of see that stuff. And even doing just online and virtual interviews. Maybe they can't talk to somebody in person and have a coffee with them, but maybe they can connect with them over Zoom. These are great ways to kind of get out and meet people, for students to kind of explore those areas of interest, to learn more about it. That's really the whole goal of this, is learning more about these careers that align really well with those interests they have. Because a lot of time that's kind of eye-opening when you talk to somebody and you actually hear from somebody in that career. You're like, ooh, maybe that's not what I want to do now that I've talked to somebody in it. So these really kind of help in a lot of different aspects. Another great way to do this is aligning project-based learning with those interests. So helping them identify career tasks. So an example for this would be, let's say your kid's interested in healthcare. They could research different medical careers, then create a project around a particular health issue, or even volunteer maybe at a clinic and kind of put it all together. The goal of all of this is to learning hands-on and relevant to the working world, right? Being able to kind of help prepare them for those next steps. So being able to help them identify, what things could go into this career, designing a project around it, implementing it, and then reflecting on that and saying, what did I learn through this process? And is this something that I could see myself wanting to do, right? So again, it kind of takes a different twist on interest-based learning, but it's something that's also setting them up for life after high school, because at the end of the day, interest-based learning is phenomenal. But then if you can also align it with career goals and career exploration, it's even better, right? It's kind of a 2-for-1 deal, which who doesn't love that? So, and then the last one second to last one is fostering critical skills. This one's a big one, of being able to help students get foundational skills. And this is where that interest-based learning is. This is more of like a life prep learning for them, helping them learn collaboration, communication skills, problem-solving skills through interest-based projects, being able to help them, if they're involved in a co-op, helping them learn how to communicate with students that communicate differently than them, being able to collaborate as a group, right? Those are all great ways to kind of help foster these critical skills. We're actually talking about critical thinking this week in my adulting class, which I'm like super pumped about, because it's all about how do you even do this? Like, how do you solve problems? How do you research effectively? But these are all skills that our kiddos need to be able to do when they leave home. And then our last step on this is allowing for that exploration and change. And especially when we talk careers, this can be so hard sometimes as a parent, especially if you're like, oh, I don't think that's the best career for you. If we don't give them the opportunity to see for themselves, they're just going to make those decisions, right? We have to let them spread their wings and figure it out on their own sometimes, and being able to let them explore those things, right? They want to be a YouTuber and you're sitting there like, okay, sure. Yeah, right. That's like a really stretch goal, guys. I don't know how that's going to go, but let them explore it. You just never know. I talked to somebody yesterday. We were actually talking about this in the YouTube space, and she's like, you wouldn't believe it. I had a parent in this situation and I encouraged her to just let her kid explore it. And now they're like super successful on YouTube. Does it always happen? No. It is very rare, but you'll never know if you don't try kind of concept. So being able to encourage them to try different things, to explore different interests, different career fields, embracing that change, and really helping them learn how to adapt and be able to shift and change their thoughts and be okay with those changes. Because at the end of the day, the benefits outweigh all the cons with this. It's giving that focused learning approach. It's helping them get more involved in the learning process. It's helping them be more engaged with the process by doing things that align with their interests. It's helping them learn more about themselves, which is so important. I mean, so many adults don't know what they want to do with life because they really don't know who they are, right? They don't know what they bring to the table. It's also preparing them for their careers in a career readiness sense too, not just finding the right career, but how to actually get into it. And it gives that lifelong direction, right? Helping them know the process. Like, okay, here's how I explore these things. Here's how I use that discovery, as Melissa talked about. Here's how I do this for lifelong, because they might have a perfect career right now for high school, out of high school, but it might change in 10 years because their life changes. So it's giving them the tools to really take that and move it forward. So again, just a really great way of kind of approaching that interest-based learning in just a different way, and a way that's really going to help your kiddo lifelong. So that's all I got for you guys today. But I appreciate the opportunity to get to chat with everybody.
That was awesome. I just put a link to Tracy's 31-day adulting checklist. That's her freebie that she's given all you guys. So definitely go and check that out. I think that's really great. And what's really struck me is that's actually how my high school years went. With my family's business, is that I got to try a bunch of different career options and different skill sets, and they really focused on those transferable skills, like you were saying. So I did video editing for a year and found out I don't want to be a professional videographer. I like that being a part-time, and so like being able to do these live videos with everyone and being able to edit videos and things like that is something that I know how to do. And so I also did some internships with different local businesses. And so you would be surprised if your Chamber of Commerce usually actually does have some opportunities available. And they are always looking for volunteers that are that high school age. So you would be surprised they are probably have some things that your kids could do with event coordination and event planning. My Chamber of Commerce had a magazine that they were doing, so I got to do an internship at being a writer. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And if they don't have opportunities, they know who does, because they work with a lot of the different businesses. So that's my little addition to that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share Tina's slides and kind of go through them with you guys. She really wanted to be here today, but she is feeling under the weather, so she sent her slides in her place. So she wanted to talk about implementing interest-based learning and fostering engagement and lifelong learning. So the first step is to figure out what your kid is interested in. So this is a really good opportunity for you to model those interview skills to your kid and ask them what they would like to learn about, what things are they interested in, and what things do they enjoy doing. This can be hobbies, these can be, what's your subjects, or even what's your favorite activities? How do you like to learn? And being able to really sit down with your kid and ask them. You'll also be surprised, a lot of kids that are your most reluctant learners may actually have answers for you on exactly how they would prefer to learn. And then separately, if they don't have an answer for you, there's a good chance there that they are not really getting the information they need in a way that's working for their learning style. So if they're just like, I don't know what I like, I don't know what my favorite subject is, it's time to figure out what their learning style is, because they may not be being engaged by the activities that you're doing. So the next step is to integrate those interests into your curriculum. So this can be tailoring lessons to your students' passions and allowing more flexibility on the projects that they work on. So this can be as simple as having math worksheets that allow you to be able to add up different bugs if they're really into bugs like my sister was. This can be doing reading practice and you have science books or documentaries that have to do with their interest, and then having them write an essay. So now you're getting research and you're having them have those language arts skills. So then going into more like flexible project options, if your kid is interested in technology, they can design a coding project or like a game for their younger siblings to be able to learn a specific skill set. So being able to give them options for that to be able to choose based on their interests. Gary is saying that she always told parents to simply observe what their children do when no one else is telling them what to do. Those are truly things they're interested in. I have to agree with you. My brother always was playing with Legos and creating crazy things, and he is now a professional 3D modeler who makes 3D models for a living. So that was his interest, is creating different 3D models out of Legos. The next step is to create a flexible learning environment. I think Melissa touched on this and Tracy touched on this. Having choice in learning activities and encouraging them to explore different options is so important, because it gives them agency over their learning. And you're going to be able to bypass a lot of that resistance if they're the ones choosing the activity. And they're going to be able to figure out, like, oh, I really like doing this, or, oh, I thought that I liked doing this. I don't like doing this. So this can be project-based learning. This can be hands-on activities for those kinesthetic learners, or even group projects. Something that's really important is personalized learning paths. So this means that no one kid's learning journey is going to look the same. So while you do want to do group projects and you want to follow some curriculum, if you're doing interest-based learning, you don't have to follow a specific curriculum. If they are learning the skills that they need to through different projects or through using different worksheets and videos and things that you can put together more on an eclectic basis, you're facilitating their personalized learning. So you're helping them to be able to find the resources they need. You're growing them to be a lifelong learner, because they're going to know how to find the resources on any particular subject. Lately, I've been wanting to learn about medieval beekeeping. And so I know how to be able to find all of the resources, because my mom always said, okay, here's how to Google. That was a specific class that we had, is how to Google search something and how to find videos on YouTube, where to find good documentaries. Really what you're doing with interest-based learning, and a lot of people, like child-led learning is very similar. It's collaboration with interest-based learning. You're collaborating with your kid to be able to help them to foster a sense of to be a lifelong learner and to be able to have more agency in their learning. With younger kids, giving them a choice between, do you want to do this documentary or would you like to do this craft project? They still are able to have choice, and it will help them to be more engaged in the topic. If you have bunches of kids, you can do group projects, and you can also go to your local co-op and be able to participate in shared interest projects. I think that Tracy really talked about that with volunteer projects can be a really cool thing. To be able to get your kid, if they're interested in architecture or things like that, there are definitely a lot of projects of like restoring different old buildings that are community projects. There's a lot of things that you can find in your community that will align with your kids' interests. I mean, there's Lego competitions and things like that. So Even if your kid is interested in being a writer, there's probably writing competitions in your area. There's things that you can do in your community as a group on their shared interests. So you want to, I think this is going into discovery, just encouraging kids to ask questions, and you don't have to have the answer. I think that was one of the things that my mom always joked. She said I had a million questions, so I got to have 3 questions that she answered, and the other questions I had to go figure out the answer to with an encyclopedia or Google. So helping them to learn how to research, and that you don't have to have all the answers, but that encouraging them to think about their different interests and think about things that they may not know about. Asking them questions about different aspects of the project. You're like, okay, so you really like butterflies and you understand how they go through metamorphosis. Do all butterflies, take the same amount of time? Are they all in this, what about the weather? Is it, does it change when they come out? Asking them these different questions so that to really spark their interest. And Tracy, I think this kind of goes into what you were talking about of taking those interests and finding that real world application. So this can be connecting their interest to a real world problem and developing a practical solution. This can be creating a local event to be able to raise awareness on a particular topic. This can be volunteering at your local animal shelter to be able to help solve an issue with, maybe they need more dog walkers and their interest is in veterinary medicine. This is a really good opportunity for them to get some experience around the animals that they're interested in. And I know we talked about this already a little bit, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly, but providing a chance for them to stop and think and get constructive feedback for improvement is an important part of this. There is room for discovery, and then when you're doing a project based on their interest, there is room for you to be able to give feedback and be able to help them develop their skills. I would encourage everyone to really focus on more of an open-ended question, so that they are, how do you think that you did? Where do you think that you could be able to improve? To help them to see and be able to self-edit and to be able to self-improve, because that's such an important skill. So if you do want to contact Tina and have any questions, she has her links up here, and I'm going to go ahead and share her freebie. She has a history of Halloween, reading passages, Q&A, and note-taking sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and share that. In the comments. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and share Ingrid Moat's video on her tips for interest-based learning.
Hi, my name is Ingrid Moats with the Math Gift, and I wanted to go ahead and give you some ideas for how to incorporate interest-based learning into your homeschool. So I wanted to give you an example of what we did with our set. When my son was homeschooling, we would often complete a full year of curriculum, either earlier or maybe in certain cases longer than a regular school year. And every time he finished a curriculum, we would give him some time to explore his interest. He would go to the library, pick up some additional books. We would do extra field trips, and he would work on projects related to his interest or hobby. So some examples of projects he would do included writing a PowerPoint about chickens. He also read up on architecture, or maybe he would go and do some science experiments. For example, we had an aquaponics system, so we helped build the aquaponics system. These are great opportunities for him to incorporate all that learning he had done. We would help him if he needed some guidance on what kind of projects to do. Maybe a project could be like a report, a PowerPoint. It could be for an artistic student, it could be more like a song, a dance. It could be writing a poem. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate the interest and create a product from that. And then field trips are great opportunities for him to maybe go out into the parks and look at some of the bugs that he enjoyed, or look for birds. So there was nature activities. You would also have an opportunity to go explore national monuments and travel and see different parts of the country. So these are all great ways for him to kind of take the lead on what he enjoyed, and then also for us to give him new experiences so we could see what other things he did enjoy. So those are different ways that we incorporate interest-based learning. Hopefully you find one of those useful to you and your family as you guys continue homeschooling.
Gary mentioned that there is a great app called Talk Notes that a child can use while engaging in activity. They can talk about their observations, and the app can turn that into a blog post or social media post. That's super cool. Her blog and YouTube channel in middle school. So that used that. That's super cool. And she also says she uses mynextmove.org with her students' exploration. Includes a link to the Occupational Outlook Handbook to see what industries have a bright outlook, which industries are lying. Yes, this is very important in the age of AI. Thank you so much for sharing those, Gary. Thank you guys for joining us. I super appreciate you guys coming on here and sharing all of your advice on interest-based learning. I know that this is a really hot topic for people right now, or especially as they're getting into the high school age, is wanting to know, can I still do interest-based learning as we're getting into middle school and high school? And I think the answer is yes, you can incorporate interest-based learning in the older grades. I would appreciate if you guys go ahead and share any questions that you have in the comments. And over the next couple of days, we will be happy to answer them. Be sure to let us know if you're joining us live or on the replay. Thank you so much again, and we will talk to you again very soon.